I'd like to call to order the Board of Public Works agenda for the public hearing. Start with the schedule of rate and fees with Mr. Paul Trenham. Are you there, Paul? Hello, Paul. Are you there? There he is.
Yes, good afternoon.
Hello.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll just jump right in here. So last month we did go ahead and bring up and look at the new proposed schedule of rates and fees. Just to summarize, you've got it later on in your board report, but what we're looking at in this new schedule is to increase electric rates by approximately 9.25%. This will, by calculation, get us back into compliance with the rate covenant that we currently have on our outstanding lease in the electric fund. Again, just to remind you, the electric fund does require a 1.25 debt service coverage ratio each fiscal year. And so at the end of last fiscal year, we are out of compliance with that covenant. And so this rate increase would get us back into compliance for the current fiscal year. The allocation of that increase is about 25% to usage, 25% to demand, and 50% to the fixed customer charge. So the average residential customer who uses about 1,100 kWh would see an increase of about $11 per month. And it is worth noting that the electric fund has not increased rates since 2015. So we're looking at 8 years of inflation and cost of living that's went up. And obviously these last 2 years have been much more extreme. So the next item on there would be increasing water rates by approximately 3%. This would continue on with that rate track that UFS had laid out for us in their cost of service study in 2018, and then redone again last year. Again, when they first did that cost of service study for us, we had just lost Rawls County Public Water Supply as a significant customer, and we'd also just taken on new debt with the new GAC filtration process. So in order to compensate for that loss and pay back that debt, we had a rate track set for the next several years. So the average customer with that increase would see an increase to his or her bill of about $1.39 per month. The last item that we've got proposed is just to increase the fee for an outside water meter from $85 to $95. Obviously, we're past the current year's watering season, so this really wouldn't take into effect until next summer, but that would just more closely align with the current cost of that meter for us right now out on the market. So you've got all those redlined rates, and is there any comment at this time from anybody in the public or anybody at all on any of that?
Doesn't look like we've got any comments.
Okay, then I think we can, we'll touch on that for approval, I think, during the actual board meeting then.
All right, that sounds good. Thanks very much, Paul.
All right, thank you.
All right. Do I hear a move to adjourn the public hearing?
I'll make a motion.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll consider it adjourned. And moving on to the regularly scheduled Board of Public Works meeting, I'd like to call the meeting to order and start with the invocation. Dear Lord, we gather here today intent on doing good work. We seek to represent fairly well those who have given us this task. May our efforts be blessed with insight, guided by understanding and wisdom. We seek to serve with respect for all. May our personal faiths give us strength to act honestly and insightfully in all matters before us. Amen. And I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Assuming everybody's looked at the consent agenda, do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll make a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All All right, motion carries. And do we have any comments from the audience? All right, having heard none, we are going to keep Paul on the screen up there and listen to his monthly financial report. Please, Paul.
Okay, yeah, first off, I just wanted to really quickly say thank you a ton for the opportunity to be out here. I'm at the Business and Financial Conference sponsored or put on by the American Public Power Association, and I don't think there is a more relevant conference in the nation right now that I could be attending in terms of the issues and just everything that's going on right now in the electric utility. It's been extremely beneficial already, and we still have another day and a half to go. So thank you for the opportunity. It also gives me about halfway towards the continuing credits that I need to maintain my CPA license. So it's a lot better to knock it out in a conference like this than it is to sit through 40 hours of webinars. So appreciate it. And I'll definitely have a report for you when I get back. So financials for August here with the balance sheet, we'll start there. Total cash for August was about consistent with the month before. We did have a little bit of an increase in both current assets and fixed assets, which would have been because of the year-end adjustments that we did with our inventory count and our capitalization of our assets that we do to prepare for the audit. There weren't any other significant changes, though, on the balance sheet. We did see a slight uptick in total assets from a month ago, and overall assets are about 4.6% less than last year. So for the income statement, utility-wide, we did have net income for the month, which was good. We were positive. However, we were about $194,000 less than what we had budgeted for August. Really, we saw revenues down in all three funds. Electric fund specifically saw revenues that were about 6% less than what we had budgeted. However, net purchase power costs were also 6% less than budgeted. So that fund actually finished right at budget for the month. The water fund, the story there is we had our carbon change out, which is about $98,000 every time we do that. And we do that about quarterly. And so that first carbon change out was actually budgeted for September. And obviously recognizing it a month early caused a pretty significant difference from what we had budgeted for the water fund. And then the sewer fund was just slightly behind budget with the lower revenues as well. Compared to last year, net income was about $168,000 less this year for those reasons that we mentioned above, as well as the carbon change out in the water fund. So now year to date compared to budget, we're 2 months into fiscal year 24. And utility wide, our net operating income is about $196,000 less than budget. We do have all three funds that are behind budget, but it is a good note to see that purchase power costs in the electric fund are about $525,000 less than budgeted. So compared to last year, we are about $810,000 behind where we were last year. The interesting thing to point out is that revenues for this current year are pretty close in line with revenues from fiscal year 2021. So that likely tells us that last year was a bit of an anomaly. We probably had some inflated revenues last year due to weather and things like that. And so those are pretty typical fluctuations that we see from year to year. So we've got our check register, credit card statement, everything like that on there. I'll point out here quickly on page 9, the middle of the page, our dashboard, we've got our debt service coverage ratio. We do have all green and yellow right now, no red, which is a good sign. The electric fund is starting out the year above that requirement. So that's good. We'll continue to monitor the water fund, but we do expect that to kind of smooth out since we won't be doing that carbon change out every month. And the only other thing that I'll have to say is we had our auditors on site, not last week, but the week before. We definitely had everyone pitch in and help with that, providing them the information that they need. If I had to guess, I'd say they're about 85–90% of the way done. It went very smoothly. We're just waiting for some calculations on their end, on our pension and things like that. But we'll follow that same timeline where they get those calculations, I believe, in late October, and then we'll present a draft to you of that audit at our November board meeting before it's then finalized in December along with the city. So things are going well there, and I definitely appreciate my team and everybody that pitched in to help with that. And that will conclude my report.
All right, does anybody have any questions or comments?
Just an observation, the carbon change out at about 98,000 for 90 days. Does that sound correct? Yes. Is it? So
Yep.
it's slightly less than $1,000 a day to have that type of treatment. The public needs to be aware that, we're making significant efforts there. And that's just an ongoing overhead. Is that correct? I want to make sure.
That is
Okay.
correct.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that 98,000 will only continue to increase with the increase that we see in chemicals. Not sure what it'll be next year, but it'll likely go up even more.
All right, any other comments or questions?
Do we need to make a motion on his rate increase?
I don't know. We're looking for.
Uh,
a vote on that today?
Darren's shaking his head, yes.
That's the next item.
Oh, it's the next time, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
regular reports.
All right, I guess moving on to the rates and fees. Paul, you covered it pretty well earlier, but is there anything else we need to know other than we need to make a motion to approve it?
Yeah, no, just the only other thing is we're required to do that rate hearing 15 days ahead of when that rate becomes effective. And so that would put the new schedule of rates and fees effective on October 3rd. So all we are requesting today is that the board go ahead and adopt that new schedule of rates and fees as has been presented.
Okay, sounds good. Do we have a motion to accept the new rates and fees as proposed?
Yes, I'll make a motion.
And do we have a second?
Second?
And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, looks like motion carries. Do we need a roll call?
Roll call. It's unanimous.
Yeah, it's unanimous.
Unless someone disagrees, no.
Yeah. All right, that sounds good. I think, Paul, you're finished.
All right, thanks again, and hope the rest of the meeting goes well.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Have a great time there.
Thanks
y'all
for your
later.
work.
Training.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Great job.
All right.
And moving on to the next item, Mr. Gordon with your general manager's report.
I have two things that I'd like to report on. First of all, I'd like to talk about the proposed Hannibal stormwater funding, the effort, and where we're at today. I'll pass some of these out to the public. If you want to take one and just pass it around. Everybody that might want one. We had a 8th Stormwater Committee meeting this last Thursday. And what happened is we've actually come to the conclusion of what we need to do and offer to the public. There were several different iterations, different methodologies that were presented. We went with the original that was presented 2 years ago, the actually using impervious surface. They considered that. They looked at the one that we had presented to the city that you had approved through my recommendation about earlier this year, and that was on gross area. And we recognized that with some of those, both of those, there were people that were going to be harmed, both on the very upper end of larger properties, larger roof lines, all of those things, and they wanted to take and make it a little bit better. So we had a committee of 15 people. They sat down, and with it, they came up with the following, and I think I may have given mine away already. I get one more back. Thank you, Maria. So this is what they finally came up with, and this is the rates that they are looking. They've taken and associating our own electric classifications. We've got 3 of them. We have a residential, we have a commercial, we have an industrial rate. With inside of those, each of those classes, they have taken and made decisions to break that down even further. Again, one of the biggest problems and hurdles they had was that they saw that some people on the upper end were going to be adversely affected, such as agriculture. If we'd have gone with that gross area, someone that had a lot of acreage, they would have just been put out of business, frankly, with this tax being put into place. They also saw inequities between what you would call let's look at the commercial. You've got the larger commercial, which could be from Lowe's and Walmart, et cetera, to the lower, smaller mom and pop store down on Main Street, that there would be some inequities there. And so they've tried to be as fair as they can. A couple of things to look at that they considered in making these decisions. First of all, was it fair or equitable? They did their best. They also recognize, and we recognize, there's nothing fair about any of it. Now, that may be a really harsh statement, but if we were to make it fair for everybody, we would have to have 8,752 different rates for every single person. We'd have to measure how many raindrops fall on your property and how many raindrops come off. And it doesn't take long to recognize that that's impossible. So they took into consideration how to be as fair and equitable as possible. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Another option that they looked at, or another criteria, was the ease of explanation. We knew that we were going to have to, they're volunteering to go out and be the education, the advocacy group to the community on this. And so they needed to have something that they could explain, and something you can explain fairly quickly and easily. And so to say the amount of electricity used shows the amount of activity you have in your home, in your business, in your industry, and that associates with how much time you're on the road and how much activity you have in the community. So that ease of explanation, to be able to simply say, you have an electric meter, that electric meter falls within a class, and you use X amount of electricity in 1 year, this is what you're going to pay. And that's what they have come up with. The next thing, is it understandable? While we can share that with them in 30 seconds, are there people out there that can truly grasp that in that quick a time? Is it passable? Do they believe that the community will actually vote for this? And they felt, well, this is going to be a heavy lift. And again, nobody thinks it's absolutely fair. Is this something that people ultimately would vote for in comparison to what we see as the damage, the harm that's going on with our stormwater, what the condition of our stormwater is right now? We've got streets that are being adversely affected because of the lack of maintenance that's gone on with our stormwater stuff. And then implementation, how difficult will that be? I will tell you, and I think Matthew Jones will agree with me, they didn't really care a whole lot about that because it's going to cause him a whole lot of extra work, but we're going to be able to implement this. This is something we can do. And then finally, legally defensible. The bottom line is that this is going to be taken to the vote of the people. And while there may be some questions about what's the most fair, most equitable, is there a better way? Those questions will always come up, but we're going to the vote of the people. And if this passes, and when it passes, that becomes the law, and that's as defensible as it can be. And so that's what we're shooting for. It is a tax. So even though we're talking about what it will cost you on a monthly basis, what it's going to cost you annually, what's going to happen is we're going to take it to the county. The county will then take and put that on a tax bill. It is a tax. We as the board are not going to put it on your utility bill. You're not going to see it on your utility bill. It is not going to add to your meter charges or anything else. It's not going to affect your electric bill at all. It is simply a stormwater tax. And so I want to, some of the other things that they brought up of why they went that way instead of the impervious area was that they really, truly wanted it to protect economic development. They felt that if we had that pervious, some of those others that could grow and grow and grow, that might harm economic development. So they felt that they were protecting that. Bottom line is, this is truly for the safety of the community. That we do have roads that need to be repaired. We do have stormwater that needs to repair. We have down at the police station right now, there's a storm drain that's going through. It is on their property, so it's not one, it would not ultimately be one of ours, but it's in an arch. And what I would call the keystone of that arch has fallen through. And if that were to continue to fall, if that continues to fall in, you could have the ripple effect of that entire storm drain failing, which I believe goes underground and would have a heck of a problem. And so these are situations that we've got to have the ability, the finances to be able to get in and fix. The cost of repairing that is approximately where that archway fell. It's about 7 feet tall and about 8 feet wide. Matt, am I quoting that fairly accurately?
Sure.
It's not a small thing. It's going to cost more than $50 to get in there and fix it. Okay, and I can't tell you how much, but it's going to be significantly more than that. It'll be many thousands of dollars just to fix that one thing. And we've got that throughout our entire area. So with that, are there any I truly want to thank those 15 people. They're going to be now moving forward. We as the board, you as the board, we cannot advocate for this. So I'm going to encourage you that we will get some documentation that committee will put together. They're going to form an official stormwater committee. They're going to be able to run with that. I can educate people. I can go to Kiwanis and I can go to a Rotary. I can go talk about it and educate, but I cannot advocate. I cannot tell anybody to vote yes for this. But with it, this is the information we have. I believe I cannot thank that committee, the people that have taken and put their time into this. And we'll be taking this too with your support. In about 1 month, we will have Alex Riley, the attorney for Healy that's been helping us on this. He's going to write up the ballot language. We will bring it to you for your approval. We will get it to the city by December so that they can then put it on and approve it and put it on the county for the next ballot in April of 24. That is the plan.
So it ends up coming out on a county tax bill what year?
Not until 20, so it'll have, if it's approved in April of 24, it's not until the December of 24, January 25
25.
tax bill, 25, January and 25.
And and the handout doesn't have total revenue generated. Do we?
Our estimate is it's going to be right around $3 million a year. If you do the math on that, so with this sheet, if you do the math on it, there's a couple of things. Number one, if you look at the non-metered, we do not know how many non-metered parcels there are. So that was a guess. What that number that I put in there was a guess. Number two, this includes every single one of our customers. We believe that approximately 20% of the revenues come for the utility. Everybody pays their utility bill, but we have tax exempt people that we serve, such as schools, such as hospitals, such as the churches that do not pay taxes. They are included in this. We believe we have to take, if you were to do the math, add it up, I think it's about $3.8 million. Take 20% away from that, and that's a closer look of what we'll actually collect because the exempt properties will not be paying this tax.
And did the committee reach the 3 million? Was that what we thought we needed or less?
It's less than we thought. Now, I really appreciate you bringing that up because one of the things that we really went through was whether or not how much we did need. And I believe the committee ultimately came to the fact that we did need at least. Black and Veatch did the study. It was not us, but they took, and with their experience, with their engineering, they said in order for us to really operate a stormwater utility and do the repairs that they anticipate, we need about $4 million a year. I came back to you as a body, and we said that we'd go down to 3.5. This again brings up about 3.8. Take out the exempt. We're anticipating it's more like 3, and we felt for it to be passable that if we brought those numbers much further than what we have on here, that it would not have a chance of passing. So that's the decision-making that was made. And I would hope that you'll support that train of thought.
I'd like to first take my hat off to Darren, who organized this thing. I was at one meeting or two, and the way it was orchestrated, the communication, the transparency, and the rabble-rousing for joint agreement between everybody was handled expertly. So I would just like to commend you, Darren, for putting that together. And I believe this is a pretty unique approach. Can you give me an example of non-metered parcel?
You got a part. I'll throw Matt Munslinger right under the bus. He owns his home. That's one parcel. His home has a meter on it. He has the parcel right next to it. Nothing is built on it. There's no utilities, no water, no electric, nothing. That is a non-metered utility. Also, the city has been going through and demolishing certain homes. With that, we actually, before they demolish, we pull the meters out. There's nothing there. They pull that out, and that is a non-metered parcel.
So a meter would be described as only an electric meter or any type of meter?
Only an electric meter. Yep.
And you do have some agricultural land under the same category. There are
Correct.
no meters.
And the other thing is, there might be those, while there are some that are not metered, there are also some that will have multiple meters, such as downtown, we've got someone that's in the ground floor that has a commercial business. They have a commercial meter on that building. Above them is a residence. Now, whether it's a commercial meter or a residential meter, if there are multiple meters on a parcel, they're going to pay for each and every electric meter that is there. An example, even greater than that, is General Mills. General Mills has a total of 7 meters. They're going to pay this tax on each and every one of those meters associated with their parcels. So all of this goes back to parcel and associating that meter to parcel. And again, that becomes fairly, it's going to be a good lift for Matthew Jones to get that done.
Can you explain why they chose the metering system as opposed to the calculation for each parcel?
I would say it goes back to, number one, they wanted a cap that put a cap on that upper end. They felt that there were some people that had the larger amount of buildings, et cetera, and that it became too onerous. And so they wanted to bring that back in. By putting it into a meter, it effectually caps at these base rates right here. So that was probably the number one. Number two was it understandable? They felt that we lost a lot of people when we went to the first vote, that they had to take their square footage, find out what was the impervious, divide it by 500, multiply it by 38, that was too onerous to be able to explain, and that they would lose some people just because of understanding that would be rejected. And you were to most of them. Is there anything else you'd add to that?
So it really is a flat rate that the committee is proposing, and they spent a lot of time deliberating how to make it fair, coming up with the flat rate, using the metering by category, made it palatable for the majority of the people, the consensus of the group, and they did have consensus. All 17, 15? 15, which was a big effort because you had a diverse committee that asked almost all the questions that are going to come up and did an excellent job. And I commend that group for spending many hours thinking about it. And there were 3 or 4 doing the math in detail. And they even caught a couple of spreadsheet calculations. So it really, I was impressed with the group and their effort.
So under this, can you give me an example? Somebody owns a fourplex.
Okay.
They have house power, and then each of the 4 meters are in the name of the renter. What would that situation look like? 1 commercial and 4 residential, all billed to the landowner?
Yes. All bills are going to be the parcel owners. Now, how the parcel owner takes that increased cost and and how they distribute that back to their rentee, the renters, that's up to them. But every bill is going to be going to the parcel owner. I hear mumbling. Is there anything to add to that?
No, I was just asking how you would know, who the property owner was on something like that.
County has,
If I come in and rent a house, I'm gonna come to you and get electric service. You're gonna have my name's gonna be associated with the meter.
Correct. And it'll be associated with the address to parcel. We're going to have to do that, marry that information together. So,
So parcel basically means the homeowner or the property owner.
property owner. It is absolutely the property owner. We're going to be sending the taxes coming from the property owner, from the parcel.
Was that part of the conversation? Because if it had been part of the utility bill, it wouldn't have mattered if you owned property or not. So I just wondered if they had talked about whether we wanted to be a resident or a property.
The problem, again, it goes back to it has to be a tax. If it could have been a rate, or a fee, then we could come back as the Board of Public Works and we could put it on your utility bill and we could go and assess right there from the person that owns that meter, that has the meter in their name. But because it must be a tax, and that's because of state law, that's not our choice. Frankly, I'd prefer that it be a rate. That makes it easier for us to deal with and to, that's wrong, if I said the wrong word there, to be able to make changes as we see fit as time goes along. Right now, we're going to be locked into this. As it passes, we cannot change it unless there's another vote. So we can't increase, we can't decrease, we can't do anything with it without the vote of the people, because it is truly a tax.
You may have already said this, but there's no sunset on this thing.
That's correct. There is no sunset on it. We do not see a sunset. So that's a great question, and let me pontificate a second, because it's not sunsetted. We can still change it, but again, it's the vote of the people. They want, if we get into this 10 years and we've done everything we're supposed to do and we have too much money, this board right here, they give us direction and we can go back to the people and say, hey, we want to take and reduce this. It can go the other way. Hey, we've got more things falling apart than we knew. We actually need to increase this by 10%. This board will see that. We have to go back to the vote of the people to do it. Now, again, it's very onerous, but this board and how we're governed, that's how we make changes. And that's where the vote of the people and the voice of the people gets heard, is through this board.
one last,
you.
one last observation on the topic, Mike, in particular. If the city, correct me if I'm wrong, this is what I heard, if the city zoning board makes a change in category, which affects taxing and qualifications, it's still locked in via the vote of the people. In other words, the zoning board can't change the impact until it goes to the vote of the people. Does that make sense? So it's locked in until the people vote and make a modification.
Well, this seems like a really good solution. The developers came in who had a lot of properties not sold yet. And having the non-metered tax at $8 a month is pretty good until it sells to someone else. And then that ownership goes over to a residentially built, which I think that's a pretty good way of doing it. And apartment owners who have a lot of apartments, let's say you have 40 units in one building, it's going to end up adding $12 a month times 40, which is going to be a big hit, but it's still digestible by adding $12 a month to their rent. And the time frame in doing that is going to be long enough so that one-year leases will be able to recoup that without having the owner lose for a long time. And I think it really it treats the larger industrial pretty well. Yeah, they're paying more than an individual, but not orders of magnitude more, which I think that is another really fair part of this. So, yeah, I've listened to the arguments, and I think this is really a unique way of doing it, and that's, I think it's pretty well thought out.
The committee did a great job. We really appreciate that. Thank you.
I do have a question. Like the city lots, if the city sells to an individual and you build a home, we add a meter, it's added to the rolls, am I correct?
Yes.
Very good.
Yep. Absolutely. They're going, and what's nice is that's going from a non-metered to metered, and so it's picked up right there.
I'm sorry, this might have already been discussed.
It's okay.
I remember a while back when I was kind of looking into this, is this based on the entire lot? Like the whole property, or just like the size of the building?
Okay, this one takes that, what you're thinking about is that impervious surface, where we would have measured how much rooftop, how much, et cetera. They've said that doesn't work for them.
Okay.
So they've taken that completely off the table. This is a flat fee. We don't care how big your lot is, or how small, or how big your house is, or how small.
Okay.
It's based entirely on that electric meter, whether it's residential, commercial, or industrial, and how much annual usage. So that those that use less will pay less, those that use more will pay more.
Yeah, the key to think about that, I believe, use the word parcel. The way that the zoning people, not zoning, but the county real estate looks at parcels by parcel number is associated with an individual owner. And pretty sure that's the way it's going instead of granularly measuring square feet or square inches. It's manageable, and I'm sure in the plan it's going to have somebody who's watching that, watching for new owners, old owners, consolidations, and lots being put together that are subdivided.
We're part of this entire stormwater utility that we will form. We'll be having someone that's responsible for that. They'll be in-house. They'll have communications with the city and with the city inspectors and permitting. And as that's coming through, we're going to watch a little more carefully exactly how that's going. But yes, yep, you're absolutely right.
Is there adjustment on the KWH usage? Is it annualized?
It is annualized. It's annual usage. Annual usage. And we will pick one date, haven't done it yet. There was one date in time, whether it's July 1, this is the start, this is the finish, and on July 1, if this is what your meter is, this is what you're going to be charged. And it may change in 6 months, whatever, but next year we'll catch up. So it's that one date, certain in time, this is when it is, start, stop, from there.
The beauty of the system is that we're using the county tax system that the counties already implemented, like with a fire district or a ambulance district. So they know how that works. We are going to impact them when this passes, if this passes. We're going to impact their expenses and overhead, and of course they'll have to be compensated. It also affects our staff and the effort for basically computer coordinations and overlays and things that IT does with their magic. So it does have an overhead cost that has to be associated before we even get to 2025 and 2026 to start fixing things.
The county does have, I don't know if it's standard for each billing entity, they collect a fee for putting that on the bill and collecting that
Yes.
money on your behalf. I don't know what that is.
It's a percentage and it just went up, I can't.
Yeah,
What it is.
yeah.
It's a percentage.
Yeah, it wasn't a big percentage, but
But it is there. Absolutely. All right.
it's awesome.
Second item on my list. And then I will be done. Number 2, we had a boil order last month or the last couple of weeks ago. This is one of those items where we absolutely are not happy to do that. We hope to never do that again. We've taken steps to make sure that doesn't happen again. It was an issue with a sampling error that was repeated. We had policies in place, but it was not followed. Again, we've made corrections and we anticipate that it will not ever happen again. However, On the good side, first of all, I hope while it was inconvenient to every one of our customers, I hope you recognize how seriously we take the health and welfare of our customers and the water that we provide to people. And that we moved on that just as quickly as we could and to get the word out. Erica helped us immensely with getting that word out. We got it out through TV. We got it out through radio. We got it out through every one of our platforms for media that we could use. And also, we used the phones. Two of the things that we used for phone calling was one called iPause. And I apologize, I can't quite quote exactly what it stands for immediately. However, what it does is that they're able to take over at the Emergency Communications Center, they're able to take and say, all right, this is the zip code, this is the area. Anybody entering in this area, they get a phone call. And when I was driving in on 61, as soon as I hit that line, my phone rang and I got that alert. Most people got that alert. The other tool that we have is called Code Red. And Code Red, what it does is, again, we're able to take, and we can actually have access to it ourselves, this application, this computer program, you're able to take and you can do a small or large. If we have a single street, let's say it was Grand Avenue from X to Y, you can take and use and draw a line around those homes that you want to communicate with. You draw a line around it. You can actually type up the call that you want to make. You hit send, and it will call up those very homes. It will give an electronic voice, which is better than mine, and it will tell you the message that you want to send. You can draw a small polygon, or you can draw it around the entire city, or you can draw it even larger than that. The key to it, though, is that people have to sign up for it. We cannot force a phone call into anybody's home or into anybody's phone. And so if you go to the city, you go to the police department, you go to our customer service out front, we are passing out the cards. I think you have a card in front of you as well, a small card. We also have this, and we're posting it, we're papering it all over the place. We would like people to sign up for Code Red. You can go on here, this QRL works right now. You can click on it, pulls it up on your phone, you sign up, it's free, and you're able to get alerts, Amber alerts. You can do, there's all kinds of things. You can also go online and look in the nation and find out where Code Red alerts going on right now through a website. It's very powerful, but we've got to sign people up. And so one of the things that, and Erica, I believe in Erica's report, it shows that usually we have about 2,000 people hit our website every month. And that's not bad, and it kind of fluctuates by 4 or 5 or 20. Well, this last month with that Code Red that we put out with the information that we tried to get out for the boil order, it went to 10,000. So we had 10,000 people that went to our website. Fantastic. She did a great job. I think we as the BPW did a good job communicating the problem. But please, please sign up. Last thing, and I'll be quiet. You actually have to go on your phone, go into your settings, go into your notifications, go all the way to the bottom. There's a bunch of notifications you go to. You've got to go all the way to the bottom. At the bottom, it says government. And at the governmental level, you've got to turn it on so you can actually receive it as well. So there's people that have signed up, didn't get notifications. You've got to turn on your phone to allow it to come through. And a lot of us have silenced it because of the annoyance of it. I promise you, we will not send out alerts on Code Red unless they are emergencies. We're not going to do it for announcements. We're not going to do it for publication. We're not just going to do it for the fun of it. We're going to only use it for emergencies. So that's a commitment we have that we'll take it very seriously.
Darren, when you sign up for Code Red, you can pick what you want to be notified for too as well. And IPAW stands for Integrated Public Alert and Warning System. It's a FEMA product.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Thank you.
Is that advertised on the webpage?
Erica? Yes.
Yeah, it's advertised on our social media platforms primarily, but we can add it to our website as well if we need to. Yeah, that probably.
Yep. Fantastic. Okay, that's all I've got, unless you have questions of me.
Any questions over there? Nope. All right, thanks very much. And again, kudos on that stormwater committee. It was just put together very, very well.
Thank you.
And Matt Munslinger, operations report, please.
Good afternoon. We'll start off with the electric again today. Our outage numbers and our outage minutes were down for the month of August, which resulted in our availability percentage increasing slightly. We still had 5 tree incidents and 3 animal incidents. One big incident we had a problem with some bus work over at our Red Devil Road substation. Actually caused some arcing, did some damage between the transformer and the switchgear located inside the building. Since August 9th, that transformer has been off. Jared's been working to get the necessary parts and materials, and also the personnel to get that repair made. We're looking around the first part of November, maybe to have that repair made, and it's going to cost us just shy of about $200,000 to do it. While it is down, we'll bring in somebody. They'll do a test on the transformer and make sure everything's good with it, and also do a test on the switchgear within the building. Once that repair gets made, and we're able to take off our Ford Street substation, we'll do some testing on it as well, as it was constructed at the same time with the same materials, so we can make sure that we have we can detect it now that we know that it is a failure point. So Courtney's been working diligently for probably about the last 6 months or more than that on accumulating the documentation we need for our RP3 submittal. We've got to have that submitted by the end of the month. So she's been working again diligently to do that. And so I think we're got the finish line within sight. We did have a peak for our 2023 year of 56.05 megawatts. That was on August 24th at 2:15 p.m. Our previous peak was, I spoke to you last month, occurred during the month of July at 55.37 megawatts. So not quite a megawatt difference in peaks there. That was a period of hot weather we had there in August. Water plant production, we stayed about level with what we were in July, even though our daily averages were a little bit lower. We did some testing on our GAC media. They actually do the iodine testing on it just to make sure that we're not overusing it to a point of where we have to replace it with virgin material. Right now we're sending it off. It's getting regenerated by a thermal process. And if we use it up too much, they've got to put too much virgin material back, and because we don't have the capacity that we need for that.
Where does that come from?
It's coal
The
based.
material? It's what?
It's coal based. It's coal.
Oh, okay, all right. It's a slag material then?
There's a couple different variations. I don't remember exactly which one it was. Water treatment plant roof. You all accepted a bid on that back in July, and Martin General Contracting is going to start on that the 25th of September, weather permitting. Water distribution, we did 2 repairs that were found to be needed due to FIDO leak detection. We got, I think, 3 left to do. One of those is just a small diameter main that we have had a lot of problems on, so we're going to work on replacing that main. But FIDO will be here the last week of September to go back and follow up on some of the leaks that we have fixed since they left back about middle part of July or June. And then also continue to pinpoint some leaks that they didn't have access to. We had some valves that they couldn't get access to that they needed to further pinpoint some leaks. So they're going to come back last week of this month and complete that. On the wastewater side of things, you'll see our max day flow was just under 6.6 million gallons a day. That coincided with 4.23 inches of rain we received around the 26th or 27th of August. And so that's about double our average day for the month of August, about 3 times of what we treated there in July. Pre-treatment wise, we had MDNR inspection came in, they reviewed the records that Lance keeps and went back over the documentation that our permittees supply us. They found 2 issues. One issue was with a dentist office that had changed hands, and so they didn't have the necessary paperwork on file. Lance has since secured that. And the other item was that a PH was supposed to be submitted with the documentation that the permittee provided. And it was right there at that transition time when Jeff left, Lance came in, and so it just got overlooked. So the letter has been submitted back to DNR regarding those 2 items. Even though we did have that 4.23 inches of rain, we had no SSOs for the month, and the sewer crew continued to do just normal cleaning and TVing operations. On technology related, we've got the cabling done for our new camera system that's going out up in this facility. Hopefully we get it up and working here. We can replicate it at some of our other facilities. We got the cameras in a week or so ago, and we're working on getting those installed as well. Staffing update, we got Zane Kopachi, hope I said it right. New hire that started last Monday to help Matthew Jones with the IT department. So wanted to introduce him and let you know that he is here working with us as well. So
Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome aboard.
On AMI meter integration, we've got all the water meters installed. We're still working with the supplier to get the electric meters built and sent here. So I don't know. What do you think, Matthew? Maybe this time next year?
I don't think it will be here this time next year, no. I'll be honest with you, the way it's going. They actually notified us that they broke some key components in manufacturing some of our meters, so I have elected to go with a one-off cover to see if we can get the meters faster. However, they did state that it possibly could be next month before we would see those. We did order some meters back in February of last year that we will not see until May of next year. But fortunately, we're 150 away from having everything fully installed. So I'm hopeful that we'll see at least a majority of those meters by the end of the year, but I've stopped holding my breath.
So that's 150 out of how many?
8,800. So
Matthew has done a phenomenal job
Oh, yeah.
over the last several years of getting this project right to the end. And all of these meters that we're waiting for are made out of their factory in Mexico, not Mexico, Missouri, the big Mexico.
Country.
And it has been just, Matthew, we require him to cut his hair short because if he had it any longer, he'd be able to pull it out.
Yeah.
And he's done a fantastic job of staying on it, and it is horribly frustrating to him, but he's done a great job, and he truly just phenomenal.
Yeah, it is a mountain of work, no question.
That's the highlights I've got for the operations report, unless you
Alrighty.
all have any questions.
Any questions about?
I have one question, and it's one that I bring up periodically about the Townsend tree removal. This month was, they sent us 3 bills, over $100,000. The question is, how are we tracking work completed? Are we mapping? How are we doing that?
We follow, basically, we took the sewer map and we put it, used it as the tree map. So basically the tree, map is integrated with our sewer coordinates, like, L-6 is.
With our grid
area.
system.
Okay?
So but it's overlaid with electrical system. And they have a 3-ring binder that whenever they go and go from point to point, then they trim that out, and then I routinely go and inspect what they have done.
So the follow-up, that at the end of this contract, or say at the end of this fiscal year, we review that map. In other words, what's our percentage of completion? How are we progressing on that significant activity?
Every 5-year rotation, the whole system.
Okay,
5-year rotation, the whole system gets touched.
Okay.
And this time has taken more effort, more
Yeah.
money, more time because we brought in the
Different.
backyard machine.
Mhm.
And they're actually similar to what Jared has for his guys to use on setting a pole or working a line in the backyard. It'll track in and make go through a 36-inch wide gate. They can get in the backyard with a full bucket, and they're doing more aggressive trimming. You saw that through some of the windstorms we had this year, the effects of it, because we weren't seeing the outages that we had in previous years.
I guess my mental visual is, okay, maybe we're cleaning out a strip, that's 5 acres of material. When you start getting a bill like that, you're saying, okay, are they doing significant work in an area? And I was just,
They did some FECON work this last month as well. That would be
What's that?
The grinding head on the skid steer and some of the areas that were able to clear right away.
Like the marsh area, is all backyard work all the way up basically to, Central. All the way to the high school.
Mhm.
That was basically last month and a week. All that area. They moved up to the other side of Country Club, Hayden Park Lane, which is a backyard. They're gonna go around to Magnolia Extension, Virginia Extension, all backyard stuff.
is there a benefit? I'm a visual guy. I'm a mapping guy. Is there a benefit to having that kind of an area map in broad terms, maybe again on social media or somewhere? Because the public really does see that crew out there. They don't necessarily know that they're our crew, that we've hired them. It's just something to think about. I don't know
So I really appreciate you bringing it up because frankly, we're trying to be as proactive as we can be. This is we recognize that we're spending a big dollar on it, everybody here, and Jared does. And so Jared really does a great job of sitting on top of them and, seeing where they're at and what they're doing. I believe we could probably go back and map where they've been and perhaps produce that. We will look into that, see if we can get something so people see where we've been.
It's just a
But-
quick,
Absolutely.
to the public, here's the kind of stuff that we're doing, and it doesn't necessarily have to be hard copies. It's
The
just
other thing we're looking at is we look at the amount of money that we pay for overtime, the amount of money we've paid for emergencies, et cetera. And while we're still having the winds blowing and we're having those events, we've looked at what's happened over time, that those expenses are coming down. We still are we're paying Townsend a lot of money to be there. But I believe we're, that good old word proactive, I think we can show that in a direct
Cost
correlation, cost benefit to what we're doing for Townsend for having that tree trimming versus what we're getting back in the savings and the reliability and the other things that we're driving it in the right direction.
Just an example, the windstorm we had in around the 1st of August of 2021 cost us about $200,000 worth just tree trimming alone. So,
And
Now it's 4 days.
and it was just tree trimming. So we've, I think we're going to stay on it.
The
We're
ultimate
coming
goal is
close.
to convert from overhead to underground.
I'm all over that. That's a great idea.
But let's back that up, it gets complex.
Sure, I'm sure it does.
But we can still see that relationship of what we're spending. We're coming close to the end of that 5 years. We're going to look at it. I will tell you that I'm a believer in keeping those trees trimmed.
Yeah.
That it really does pay off to keep that maintenance going.
The biggest problem is it's never been past practice.
Deferred maintenance, yeah.
So to get over footage now is much slower than footage in my next 5-year cycle. There's going to be, my point being, there'll be a lot less trims
Okay,
because everything is so trim aggressive right now to get everything back in its proper spot that it's going to just make it easier and cheaper in the long run. Although, yes, they have backyard stuff. Yes, you'll use a backyard easement machine, but it will go much quicker.
you're trimming 2-inch limbs rather than
yes.
6 or 8-inch limbs.
And I'd love to tell you we're going to cut back on that, but I'm not going to make that commitment to you. I'm not going to make that commitment.
It's just
to you
like
verbally.
cleaning the storm sewers or the sanitary
Correct.
sewers.
Yep.
You've got maintenance and overhead. And I think it's just, from my perspective, it's important that the public knows that there's a significant effort made there. They see the tree trimming, but they don't see Hannibal Board of Public Works on it. but.
They know who to call.
Yeah, I bet they do. You get phone calls, do you? That's good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, are we through operations?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if we can move on to projects.
Projects, just to reiterate, again, water treatment plant roof replacement. They're going to start September 25th. That is metal roof on the filter building and the walkway and the old chemical building up at Riverview Park. Gravity filter media replacement, that is something that we're working with Black and Veatch on. We're going to hopefully go out before the end of the year. I just got an email on 90% plans for that project. And so the anticipated schedule is have that out to bid before the end of the year and get that replaced before we get into the peak demand season next summer. Everything else is pretty much held the same for the last month. So I'll entertain any questions if you have any.
Okay, any questions on project report? If not, we can move on to new business, surplusing some items, and I see the list here.
Yes. What we got is a copier that we had replaced, and then also 25 iPads that became obsolete. So with them no longer being supported, so just asking for your approval to declare those surplus so that we can go through our disposal process.
Do I have a motion to declare surplus the items listed on the memo?
I'll make a motion.
And a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank
All
you.
right, motion carries. Thank you very much. And moving along, comments from the city attorney.
I don't have anything.
Okay. Just like James.
Oh, no. I didn't say that.
Right. Any general discussion? Audience, members, anyone? Okay. If not, I recommend we adjourn. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
And a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's adjourn. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Short and sweet.
Robert, thanks for being here, buddy.